The drive to the mountains was more tiring than I anticipated. I sighed heavily as I held my backpack in my lap, keeping my head positioned against the seat so it doesn't feel the rumble of the bus. I knew the ride was going to be long, but I didn't realize how long it would feel until I ran out of cell phone service an hour into the ride. And honestly, the constant fields were starting to get really boring to look at. Considering how far out my town was from any semblance of civilization, I thought having no cell towers out here was a dangerous idea. But I digress. I was just glad the bus driver was nice enough to actually drive me all the way to where I wanted to go, even if the ID rules were incredibly stupid in my personal opinion. Feeling around my pockets for my ID, I snuck a quick glance at the faded text. First name, Lion. Last name, Lion. Pronouns, they, them. I huffed indignantly and shoved it back into my pocket. I didn't understand the rules at all. Why check my ID when everyone knows I'm one of the few people in town who actually leaves on a regular basis? Sorry, Lion. It's just policy. Who cares about policy this far out? The nearest gas station outside my town was in the next town 3 hours away by car. As if anybody isn't going to recognize who goes on the bus or not when there's hardly anyone around. I sighed and closed my eyes as I kept a hand around my backpack. I shouldn't be mad at Ronnie for following corporate's rules. He was just doing what he had to do to keep his job. I just wish I didn't have to do the ID check, song and dance every time I left. Maybe I should follow Delilah's advice and look into getting a car after all. I looked out the window, the opening fields continuing to bore me, and huffed tiredly. No point in staying awake for the next few hours when all that was outside was grass and skies and more grass. I needed the extra sleep anyway. Had to be rested for my hike ahead. Oh. Oi! Lion! Get up! I woke with a jolt. Huh? Get up! Where'd you stop? Oh, right. Man, Ronnie, you aged! And in a good way, too. Like, I like this new art. I quickly checked my bag to be sure everything I needed was still in there before rushing out of my seat, giving Ronald a cheeky grin as he looked at me incredulously. He lightly scratched at his mustache as he huffed in annoyance. I still don't understand why you have me drive all around the countryside for your stupid pictures. I giggled. Being one of the few people in town who actually uses the bus, his boss was kind, or possibly desperate enough to let Ronnie take me anywhere. I wanted to go around the countryside to increase the few sales they had. Little did Ronnie know that most of it would involve driving around fields of grass and flower fields for hours on end. But I knew him well enough by now. If he actually minded, he would have found another job elsewhere. Something told me he enjoyed our long talks on the road. Ah, come on, Ronnie. You know my blog won't update itself. Besides, the bus station is getting my business. You're pretty much my personal chauffeur at this rate. Yeah, whatever. Try and be careful, alright? Apparently the weather gets crazy in these mountains. I'll stick around until you come back down. You know you don't have to do that, right? I wouldn't want to take you away from someone else who could use your business. Haha, very funny. Don't get cocky. It's because I don't want you to get eaten by whatever's making the mountain dangerous. I rolled my eyes with a groan. Of course the rumors was what worried him, although I couldn't fault him for caring. Oh, don't tell me you're as paranoid as my neighbors, Ronnie. Oi, I'm not paranoid, Lion. I've got common sense. If you're not at the bottom of the mountain by 5 at the bare minimum, I'm calling the cops. Relax, Ronnie, I'll be fine. I'll be more than careful. Now, let me out of this bus so I can get some photos. I told you not to call me that! I gripped onto the straps on my backpack as I stepped off the bus, seeing Ronald's anxious face as he watched me leave. He would definitely call the police if I didn't come back. The real problem was anyone getting here in time. The drive alone will make it impossible to get here in any reasonable amount of time. I shook my head. I know Ronald was probably just nervous, but he shouldn't worry about me. That will be more than okay. I walked until I found what looked to be the entrance into the forest that led up to my destination. Moon-tipped peaks, the cursed mountains my neighbors always warned me about. The fluorescent lights of the bus masked the gray and ominous look of the whole place. Despite my phone's watch telling me otherwise, it could have been late afternoon with how dreary and gray everything was. There was definitely something weird going on with these mountains, but I wouldn't let that deter me. I pulled out my dusty yet well-kept camera from my backpack. Compared to the high-tech cameras in a big city, this was an ancient relic. I remember getting made fun of for carrying such a bulky and inconvenient thing everywhere when I could just get camera eye implants like a normal photographer. It was my camera, damn it! And it served me well in the past few years. I looked at the mountains once again and let out a short huff. I've studied this place as much as possible before I ever came onto the bus. There were no signs except for the one at the start of the trail giving the mountains names. No proper landmarks or maps. It was just a bunch of mountainsides and cliffs. There wasn't exactly anywhere special to go. However, there were dozens of trails to follow. I figured as long as I didn't stray from them and didn't wander off for any stupid reason, I wouldn't get lost, and that's the first thing I do. That was the idea anyway, unless I got horribly lost and died in the wilderness to a wild animal. I slapped my cheeks. Nope, no negativity right now. I was here to get some good blog photos, and I'll come back down when I'm done, and I'll be fine. Just had to be careful, and I knew how to do that. I clutched the straps of my backpack and marched onwards. Weird, creepy mountains, here I come! Yeah, I've heard people in town talk about the mountains. I will be going to ever since I first moved in. All of the rumors intrigued me, and the warnings to stay away just made me more curious about it. How it was cursed by a demon of nightmares and eyes, and how it was plagued by a strange winter, cold winds that drained life from the land, living sapient snowstorms, and apparently ice that tried to kill you. It wasn't just the weather either. I've heard people say all kinds of weird things happen around the mountains. Auroras during the full and new moons, glowing caves that showed your worst fears, shadows that stalked and followed you through the woods. What interested me the most was that according to my neighbors, it's been that weird for the past 50 years, and anyone dumb enough to go up to the mountains never came back the same. Apparently, the mayor's brother, who tried to explore the place, had to go to a psych ward in the city and hasn't come back since. And some people who went up there never made it back down. Now, normally a 50-year-old cursed mountain in the middle of nowhere where people have seemingly died a lot would never pique my interest enough for me to actually try and go there. I like to think I wasn't that crazy, but the thing is, I am. But this time was different. Sure, it was just for a photo block, but it was my photo block, damn it! People have to lie photo evidence of a still existing curse, right? From a vintage camera that wasn't implanted in someone's eye. People love vintage technology. Surely someone out there would care. Right? Right. Totally not coping. Despite the gloomy look of the mountain, it was relatively peaceful as I climbed. Also, the sound effects is so much louder than the music. I might actually need to crank up the music for this one. The air around me was quiet and peaceful. I found it odd that I couldn't hear any animals skittering about, but they were probably in hibernation. I crunched on granola bars and washed it down with water, enjoying the silence of nature as I walked through the path. The trail had a faint covering of snow, but it wasn't anything I couldn't walk through. A far cry from the harsh and intense winters people kept telling me about. But as I looked around at the trails more, I could see that most of the snow was packed on the edges of the trails, as if someone had shoveled through them to make the pathways clearer. Who was stupid to come all the way up these mountains and clear out a path for nobody to use? Unless the weather naturally avoided the trails, which was even more odd. I took a few pictures of the trail. I knew it was just dirt and snow, but the implications could intrigue someone. But beyond weird snowy paths, I saw nothing of major interest. I still took pictures, but there wasn't anything that crazy around. There was just snow-covered trees, not a single animal or gust of wind to give some background noise. No music either! The eeriness would be interesting if it wasn't so frustrating. You couldn't take a picture of the vibe of a forest. Well, you could, but I had nowhere enough skill to do that with such a dingy camera. Yes, you can! But surely someone out there will be interested in snow-covered trees on a cursed mountain, right? Well, it's good for setting up the ambiance. Ugh, No, they wouldn't. I just said they could! I kicked at the snow in frustration. It could be pretty! Ugh, this is pointless. It's just trees. Who's going to care about a curse if nothing is happening up here? I sat down next to a tree and let out a huge sigh. The cold snow made my pants a little damp, but I couldn't bother to care right now. I pouted and rubbed in my eyes. I've been walking for hours and nothing! Just snow, trees, and even more snow and trees. I had to face the unfortunate fact. It was pretty clear I wouldn't be finding anything interesting up here. Sighing deeply, I stood back up and patted away the snow stuck to my clothes. I should probably head back down the trail and get back home with Ronnie. Which seriously sucked. Okay. What was that noise? In the midst of my inner monologue, I forgot the worst part about the mountains. The worst part about venturing out into nature in general. The wild animals. I heard another sound, and what sounded like sniffing. By the gods, why did the animals choose to come out now? Whatever that was sounded big. I couldn't panic just yet. Maybe it didn't notice me. Maybe it was just a squirrel and I was overreacting for no reason. I could catch a quick glance and then decide whether or not to panic. That was a sound enough plan. I ignored the rising feeling of anxiety in my gut and clenched my fist. Holding my breath, preparing for the worst, I turned to look behind the tree. And I gasped at the sight before me. Couldn't believe it. It was a deer. A pure white deer. Sniffing at some of the grass peeking out through the snow. It was so white, it looked like it could have been glowing. White deers were incredibly rare. I thought most, if not all of them, were hunted down by poachers. This was perfect. I finally had something interesting for my blog. I hastily grabbed my camera from my backpack and tried to capture the moment. Come on, just need one good picture. Don't want to scare you off. The deer flinched and instantly looked up at me. I knew right there that I had made too much noise. I froze, my hands shaky as they clutched my camera. No, wait! Bitch! I watched with disbelief as it galloped away out of fear. No, come back! I groaned heavily as the deer disappeared into the wilderness. That was a perfect photo opportunity. I couldn't just let it slip me by. I tried to chase after it, but stopped once I realized I would be going off the trails. I couldn't risk getting lost in the woods. I was so close. I looked down at the snow floor. The deer had left tracks behind, and his tracks were near the trails I was walking on. The more irrational part of my brain started to think. If I just followed the tracks, got my picture, then followed them back to the trails, in theory, should be fine. I knew it was really dangerous, but I've been climbing this mountain for hours with nothing to show for it. I couldn't go back empty-handed. I had to get a picture of something. I wouldn't let my efforts be for nothing, and that deer was the best thing I had. So I took a deep breath, looked back out at the trails behind me for a good measure, and ventured into the woods. I made sure to keep an eye on the deer tracks as I trudged through the snow. For something so delicate looking, it could run incredibly far. I had to keep going. I just had to. The perfect picture was in my grasp. I could feel it. I could do this, I told myself. I could do this. I heard the sound of a tree branch breaking to the left of me and gasped. That had to be a deer. I sprinted towards the sound, hoping to catch the deer off guard once more, but nothing. No soul around. I groaned hard. Damn it! Really thought I would be able to find it. I had to admit by now, it was clear I wasn't going to catch a photo of this deer. Time to head back down the stupid mountain. I turned to look back at the snowy floor and instantly stilled. The deer tracks were gone. Oh. No. I gulped. I shouldn't panic just yet. They were probably somewhere around here, and I just never noticed. I could find them again, right? I ran through the woods, trying to find them again, but I saw nothing. If anything, it seemed like I just put myself deeper into the woods. How far had I gone from the tracks? I looked around anxiously, feeling my stomach start to churn. Okay, I was lost, in the middle of the woods. No big deal. There were dozens of trails I trekked through in order to get here. I just needed to find one. I slowly walked through the snow once again, feeling snow seep into my boots as I went on. I shivered, but pressed on. I was going to be fine. If push comes to shove, I should just walk down. Surely I will be able to find my way down to the front entrance of the mountain if I just went down, right? Another noise in the forest made me jump. No, now was not the time. I couldn't panic now. I couldn't. But when did it get so dark? The fact that I was in the middle of the forest was finally starting to settle in. I was stranded, in the woods, on a mountain full of God knows what. I looked around frantically, flinching at the sounds of my own feet breaking branches beneath me. I rushed to pull out my phone, trying to call Ronnie, but there wasn't any cell service all the way out here. Great. Just great! I was stuck on a mountain without any way of getting help, and I had nothing to defend myself with except a useless phone and an old camera. I couldn't freak out just yet. Panicking wouldn't help me. I just had to head down the mountain. I will find my way back to the trail eventually. Oh boy. What was that? Why was it so loud? Nah, screw that. I have to get out of here. I started running, hopelessly in a random direction, hoping to get away from whatever that was. The hell made that noise? I know the sound of a tree being knocked down when I hear it. I didn't want to be anywhere near whatever was able to bring down a tree in the middle of nowhere. No matter what it was not a good thing. I had no idea where I was going, or what I was trying to accomplish by endlessly running through the woods. I just knew I had to get away. I would try and find the bottom of the mountain later. I panted heavily as I sprinted through the forest, doing my best to dodge and weave around the branches and stones in my way. I was grateful to not have tripped yet. My back slammed against my back as I ran. I knew my fragile camera would have to be fixed after this, but I didn't care. I just had to get away from whatever that thing was. I had to. No, better yet, I had to get off this mountain. If I could just get far enough away to catch my breath. If I could just climb down this mountain and find my way back to the trail. By the time I saw the cliff, I couldn't stop. I fell before I could do anything to stop myself. Did I die? Oh wait, no, I just broke all my limbs. Ow. The cold of the snowy floor bit into my face. My body felt like it was on fire, and I could feel something hot running down my legs. Good gods. Was that my blood? Instinctively, I tried to move, but trying to do so made my limbs howl in pain. I breathed heavily as more of the pain settled in, my blood dripping down my forehead, my legs screaming in pain, the aches in my mouth. My eyes fluttered open, and I painfully but slowly turned my head to try and see a glimpse of what happened to me. My arm! My arm! My arm looked decimated. My bones were jutted out at unnatural angles, and blood splurted from the wound. I could see even more of my blood splattered all over the snow. From the way my legs felt, I guess they looked similar as well. I coughed on my saliva and shut my eyes, trying to keep the tears back. Gods, how stupid was I? Trying to get a picture of a stupid deer only to end up running off a freaking cliff? I thought it was better than the streamers who did stuff like this for clout. But here I am, practically going to die from blood loss because of how stupid I was to do this for a photo blog of all things. It couldn't possibly get any worse. Of course it gets worse. Oh, come on! You could not be serious right now. Did I piss off a god in a past life or something? My breath hitched as I could hear the wolves getting closer to me. I couldn't just sit here. I had to do something. I had to move. I tried to force myself to sit up, but that only made things worse. The pain just intensified from my sudden movements as I landed back into the blood-soaked snow with a yelp. I helped. Wait! Stop! No! Don't sniff me! That's my job! I held my breath as I heard the wolves get closer and closer. My heart pounded away in my chest. as I felt one of them come right up to me and sniff at my head. Was this seriously how I was going to die? To a bunch of hungry wolves? Falling off a cliff was bad enough, but no, it just had to get worse for me. I couldn't fight the tears that were starting to flow from my face as I felt the wolves sniff me over. I just wanted some cool photos for the photo blog, damn it! Wait, what in the... Were the wolves running away? It felt like it, but how? Why? I didn't hear anything. What could have scared them away like that? The faint sound of footsteps started to become clearer, and I could faintly see what looked like a pair of snow boots come into my blurry view. Footsteps? Snow boots. That meant someone was here! They were able to help me! Told them to stay away. I could barely hear what the person above me was saying, and in all honesty, didn't really care. I could feel myself fading fast from the blood loss. I needed to get their attention before I fell asleep and never wake up. Shadow Milk Cookie! I mustered up as much strength as I could to lift myself up and reach out to the stranger, trying to ignore the screeching pain in my limbs, and painfully croaked out. Help me. I fell into the snow and passed out before I heard what the stranger could say next. What in the... By the moon. What happened here? Oh, crap. That's a lot of blood. I should do something, shouldn't I? Could just leave them here to die. But what if? Doesn't matter. My eyes didn't rip open as I expected them to. Instead, I could feel myself opening them slowly. The hell? They opened to a beautiful sea of blue and purples, a wondrous night sky full of twinkling stars. Turning around and around just made me see more of this blue void, nothing but the stars in it to help me see. A small part of my brain screamed this was odd, and something was wrong, and I needed to figure out what happened, and I knew that I should. But why did I suddenly not care about that answer? All of my worries seemed to just melt away in that moment. My blog, Ronnie, the cliff, all of my concerns just dissipated into a fine mist. It was so warm, wherever I was. Not in my body, it was more like my very soul, yeah. Like my inner self had been soaked in a warm sauna and was enjoying the hot steam. I closed my eyes to fully enjoy this lovely feeling. It was so peaceful, as though I was wrapped in a warm blanket. I could stay like this for ages. I felt myself fall deeper and deeper into this void, allowing my body to float freely and simply drop into the darkness. This was a dream I wouldn't mind staying in for a while. Never felt so at peace before. It was truly wonderful. I wanted to go deeper into the abyss, that atmosphere of silent tranquility, just swim deeper and enjoy the feeling of peace even more. I don't trust this, but it would be funny. Would be funny. Wait. You can't tell me that's not. You can't tell me it's not. Like, it really is giving, like, Shadow Milk Cookie and pure vanilla for some reason. Anyway, dive deeper. Oh, shit. As I swam deeper and deeper into the void, I noticed my surroundings getting darker and darker, but I didn't care. This feeling was so fantastic, so wonderful. I wanted to feel more of it. I felt myself floating down into the ocean of calm and sighed deeply in contentment. This was so nice. Oh, so nice. It made me want to keep swimming even deeper, to be closer enough to touch the wild blues that were making me feel this way. Deeper. As you dove deeper into the darkness, the stars disappeared. The abyss and its tendrils swirled you, surrounding your body in its shadows. You could hardly see anymore, but that was okay with you. How could you deny your desires to embrace the abyss? This lovely dream was what you wanted, what you needed. It was the best thing you've ever seen, ever felt, and waking up from it would be a mistake. It's really giving Shadow Milk Cookie right now! You could practically feel it watching you, waiting for you to dive in and lay down with it forever. You knew you were doing the right thing, as you did your best to swim deeper into the darkness, But as you pressed on, your limbs felt too lethargic to keep going, and you're so tired, you can't even keep going into the blissful abyss. But luckily for you, the darkness is willing to help. You feel it pulling at your legs and wrapping long tendrils around your arms, itching to pull you in but waiting for your permission to pull you inside. I'ma give it what it wants! Yay! Tentacles! The one part of you that was still awake barely had to let off a confirmation before the tendrils around your limbs tightened their grip and pulled you into the darkness. Oh shit. Well, it's getting into pretty uncomfortable places. You could feel them start to wrap their way around your body, covering your torso and limbs in their sweet embrace. If you were still coherent enough, you would have asked why. You feel the tendrils start to wrap their way around your face. You were so thankful to be at peace as to not be terrified. You could faintly hear someone trying to shout something, but they were far too quiet for you to consider them in a meaningful way. The abyss can do that for you. Embrace it. Yay, cuddles! The tendrils fully wrapped themselves around you, engrossing you in the darkness. You would do nothing but be content as your body and mind was pulled into the abyss, forever in a peaceful dream. A tiny part of you that remained worried that you would be hurt or in pain in this endless void. You and your fears were squashed when the abyss answered. There was no more pain or suffering waiting for you. You would be okay. Such a bright soul made a wonderful addition to his collection. Ending 1. Embracing the darkness. Yeah, you know what? As much as I love the darkness and the abyss, I'm gonna need to wake up. As beautiful as the calming feeling was, I knew I couldn't stay like this forever. There was too much at stake for me to stay here. I couldn't explain it, but something felt off. Like something was waiting to devour me. I had to leave this dream. With a deep sigh, I closed my eyes, held my breath, and... Where the hell? My eyes ripped open and I breathed heavily as I felt disorientation hit me right in the face. My body felt lethargic and my eyes felt heavier. I would drift back to sleep when my surroundings weren't so strange that I forced myself to stay awake. I felt incredibly warm despite the snowy forest I was walking through. I could see firelight flickering on the ceiling and a warm, fuzzy blanket covered my body. I blinked slowly as I stared at the ceiling, still feeling dizzy. I had no idea how long I was knocked out, and I barely remembered how I got here, but... Why was I seeing spots of blue in my vision? Wasn't it usually blue spots? Gods, how hard did I hit my head? Was I hallucinating or something? I blinked rapidly to try and make the spots go away before attempting to sit up. Big mistake. My arms and legs screamed in pain from how much it ached. I groaned from the shock and instantly flopped back down onto whatever I was laying on. Gods, why did falling off a cliff have to hurt so much? Damn it. Thought I had. A voice! I tried to turn my head towards the noise, only to immediately be met with more pain and groaned in regret. Who was that? Try not to move. I'll be there in a second. Was it? Well, it wasn't like moving was doing me any favors. I could only do just that as I heard him shuffle around the room and arrange things around. Oh my god, he's cute. The stranger finally appeared in front of me, with a cup in his hands and an anxious look on his face. I was about to open my mouth to ask who he was, but something stopped me. Something about his eyes. Why did I feel like I've seen them before? I was torn from my thoughts when he spoke up again. By the moon, I'm really glad you woke up. I thought I had... Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, I know this is going to sound weird, but I need you to drink this. It'll heal your wounds faster. I promise. It won't hurt you. He held up the cup to my face, and looking inside, I could see a greenish-orange liquid. I wanted to deny it at first, as taking any food from a random stranger seemed like a horrible idea, and I did not want to meet an early grave. But I was in so much pain, and I could barely think from how dizzy I was. Even if I could protest, I wanted something to make the pain stop. I just had to trust that the stranger wasn't trying to poison me. With some hesitancy, I nodded, allowing him to gently hold my head up and help me drink whatever was in the cup. I'm a shark that a horrid taste. It tasted like rotten asparagus mixed with moldy oranges. I just spit it out on instinct, but in my position, I could do nothing but keep swallowing the awful drink. Sorry. Should have warned you it was going to taste real bad. Don't worry. It's going to help you. Promise. Despite the taste, I could tell he was right. As I drank more of the horrid concoction, I could feel the aches and pains in my body start to wane faster and faster with each sip. By the time the final drop has reached my lips, my body felt healthy enough to wipe away any of the excess drink from my mouth and allow the stranger to help me properly sit up. Oh, thank the moon. I was nervous that wouldn't have worked. Glad to know that my herbalism isn't as rusty as I thought. Now, you feeling better? I rubbed my eyes and grumbled a little as I tried to assess myself. Think so. I'm glad. I looked around the interior as the stranger took off his cloak and tossed it on the edge of the couch, which I could now see I was laying on with a large fluffy blanket on top of me. Now that I was more coherent, I could see the stranger more properly as well as what the room looked like. But this house confused me even more. The walls were clearly stone, but they looked rounded and rocky, not like a normal brick house at all. I could see a door leading somewhere as well as an archway leading to what I assumed was the kitchen or dining room. There was the fireplace directly in front of us, with a few dolls in the shelves on top of it. One looked to be a funny little mushroom man, and the other two looked to be a strange creature of some kind. Okay, wait, I need to look at this. Okay, so that is definitely Michael. I'm not too sure about who the other two references are. Like, if you all know, please do let me know in the comments. I would love to know. For some reason, there wasn't any smoke coming from the fire. How was that possible? Also, did I really need to answer that? I mean, it wasn't like it was endangering me. Smokeless fire isn't exactly rare either. I've seen Pyrobound produce it all the time. There's nothing to worry about. What does that mean? What was I saying? Of course it was. I shook the stray thought from my head and kept looking around. The stranger didn't mind that I kept on staring at his living room, which was nice, but I couldn't ignore the weird feeling in my head for much longer. That dream I had was so odd. It felt so real. A blue landscape full of stars. How odd. What was that even about? I shook my head and brushed it to the back of my mind. It was just a dream, Lion. A really weird dream, but still a dream. I looked over at the smiling stranger nervously. He looked almost harmless. I swear, my brain was still playing tricks on me, because why did it look like he was sparkling? I'm sorry. Who are you? Nearly forgot about introductions. My name is Orion. Orion? Does your last name start with Alan? Yeah. So, how do you feel? Do you still feel sick or weak? How about your arms or legs? How do those feel? Can you move them well? Do you have any leftover aches or pains? Man, that was a lot of questions. Where do I even start with answering? Wait, my what? I hadn't even noticed with how overwhelmed I was upon waking up. I finally looked down at myself to see my limbs were no longer snapped and twisted beyond repair, and were instead looking as normal as ever. As if I didn't accidentally run off a cliff and nearly shatter my skeleton. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, but here I was, moving my legs and arms around like it was nothing. What in the world? I'm cured. How did you do this? Just using my supplies where I can. You'd be surprised what kind of herbs grow around in these parts. I'm only glad that I had enough of them to actually help you, considering the state I found you in. I don't know what to say. I can't thank you enough. You're thanking me? Seriously? I balked in astonishment. What kind of question was that? Of course I am. Why wouldn't I? I literally almost died. How could I not thank you? Well, it's just that. People don't usually thank me for stuff. The way he put it was very nonchalant, but I frowned at his casual attitude. Why wouldn't people thank him? Anyone willing to help a random person on a dangerous mountain was a winner in my book. But despite the fact that I was still feeling strange, I couldn't just let him brush us off like it was nothing. Well, the way I see it, You saved my life at least 3 times over, and that deserves thanks. 3 times? How? Huh. Let's see. A smooch? I counted my fingers to emphasize my point. You healed my injuries after I fell off a cliff. You saved me from wild animals that would have most likely eaten me. And by healing my wounds, you stopped me from having to spend who knows how much money on medical bills. And that last one matters the most to me. Trust me on that. So get used to being thanked, because I'm doing it right now. Okay, I got it. Orion shut his mouth and nodded quickly. Crap. Now it just felt bad. I didn't want to seem overbearing, but he saved me. I couldn't just let him undermine that. Anyway. He quickly shook his head and tried to change the subject. It was probably best I could tell I had made him anxious. So, what's your name? Huh? Your name? I don't think I caught it yet. Oh, my name's Lion. Nice to properly meet you, Lion. I know I already asked, but are you positive that everything feels fine, inside and out? I have more medicine I can give you if you're still feeling under the weather. Did I really want to taste more of that organic sludge? No, I don't think so. Everything feels fine. Well, besides the fact that he still looked like he was sparkling, but I didn't want to mention that. For all I knew, it was a side effect of the medicine, or the fall did hit my head harder than I thought, and I was seeing things that weren't there. I didn't want to make a fool of myself when it was possible I just needed a nap. Wait, what kind of logic was that? Wouldn't it be imperative to mention it anyway? I literally fell off a cliff. And he helped you, and you're fine now, so why make a big deal out of it? I guess it made some sense. Oh, good. It's very good. I'm glad. Even want you looking like a lemon again if you have to drink more of the medicine I gave you. I rolled my eyes at his attempt at humor. I couldn't deny my face starting to crack into a smile. You should have taken a picture. Would have lasted longer. Orion snickered lightly, and I was inclined to join in, but I was slapped in the face with the reminder of why I was on his mountain in the first place. Pictures! Cameras! My camera! Huh? I'm sorry, but did you see my backpack anywhere? With my camera and water and other stuff inside? Oh, your stuff? It's just drying up in the heating chamber. It's where I regulate the heat for my home. I figured you wouldn't want a wet bag on your back when you got home. Yeah, don't worry. I'll return it as soon as you're ready to go. As much as I appreciated the gesture, there was something I was a lot more worried about. Is my camera okay? Orion stopped to think for a moment. I think so, although I haven't seen one of those models in a while. It looked dented before, right? I groaned in exasperation. That did not sound good either. Either I needed to try and fix the camera, or I had to give up my vintage aesthetic dreams. Damn it, I hope my pictures aren't damaged. Your pictures? Yeah, I came up here to take pictures. Bit of a hassle to get here, although I figured it was worth the trip. But it might just be for nothing, since the film is probably too damaged to actually use now. I sulked quietly as Orion looked at the floor with an anxious expression. Kinda funny that you came up here to take some photos. Really? Why? Well, the only people who ever seem to do that are scientists or adventurers. Tried to figure out the secrets on the mountain, to say. Or hunters tried to stalk their game before trying to hunt them down. Which one are you, Lion? Despite his airy tone, his smile seemed a little forced. Looking down at his hands, I could see that his fingers are digging into the fabric of his pants. Oh, relax a bit, won't you? Huh? I'm nobody special like that. I'm just a wannabe blogger in my spare time. A blogger? Yeah, I figured taking aesthetic vintage-looking pictures of a cursed mountain would boost my blog numbers a little. Being this far out in the middle of nowhere has to make some people online interested, right? I chuckled at the thought, but Orion didn't return the sentiment. Wait a second. You almost got yourself killed. For internet likes? Well, I immediately tried to explain myself, but ended up sputtering over my words. When you put it like that, it sounds really bad. Really bad? I found you bleeding out at the bottom of a cliff with wolves circling you, more than likely ready to eat you alive. You almost died. for internet likes. I felt my face heat up and I looked away from his judging stare. I knew he wasn't exactly wrong to point out how stupid I acted, considering he was the one who saved me, but this meant something to me. It wasn't worth dying over, I'll give him that, but if it had actually gone right, I would do it again. Hey, cut me some slack. It wasn't just about internet likes. Sometimes your only friend in life is a camera and a dream. I see. Ryan looked back at me with a relaxed smile. I can definitely understand the whole doing stupid stuff for friends thing. I don't know if I would climb up a cursed mountain, but I get it. I scoffed and rolled my eyes, which he only snickered too. You're one to talk. Who the heck lives on a cursed mountain? I say that's way more dangerous than climbing up here. Orion doesn't seem to hold it in and finally lets out a loud cackle at my words. I could feel my ears heating up with how much I was blushing from embarrassment. Yeah, that's a fair point. You're not as bad as I thought you would be, Lion. Thank you? Despite his odd wording, I think I could understand what he meant. If he really did live up here all the time, he probably didn't get any visitors that often. I was clearly making a good impression on him if he thought I was better than anyone else he ran into. Although it did make me worried of who else he ran into up here. But that didn't matter, did it? If he's been up here for so long despite the rumors, then clearly he was safe, and so were you. What in the... Oh, come on, Lion. Don't be reasonable. You're fine. It's fine. Yeah, of course it was fine. Wait, what was I thinking? I fiddled with the blankets nervously. I didn't exactly know where to take the conversation, but I didn't want to just sit here in silence and do nothing. Thankfully, Orion seemed to know what to do, as he stood up and brushed himself up before looking back at me. I'm sure you've got a lot of questions to ask me, and I'll be glad to answer them, but we need some time to get some food into you first. Food? Exactly. My medicine isn't going to fix an empty stomach. You'll feel a lot better once you've eaten something. I promise. While you were asleep, I made a ton of different things because, well, didn't know what you liked. So when I'm done, you can just pick whatever you want to eat. Just wait here. I'll call you when I'm finished. I watched Orion disappear into the archway and sighed deeply as I looked down at my body once again. I still can't believe he managed to heal this so fast. There wasn't even a scratch or a single drop of blood from the incident. I wonder how he managed to do that. I'm glad Orion did help me, though. The small hospital in my town probably won't be able to do much to help, as we didn't have the instant fix tech like in the Hydro Monarchy. Not to mention, the price of just healing my arm will probably cost as much as my arm. If the sun did have dominion over luck, it was certainly favoring me right now. I groaned quietly and rubbed at my nose bridge. Still, Orion shouldn't have had to help me to begin with. How could I have been so dumb to get myself in that situation? Falling off a cliff and having to be saved by a stranger? A seemingly kind stranger, but still a stranger nonetheless. I know I probably watched one too many horror films, yet couldn't help but feel paranoid. It didn't help that I've been feeling weird ever since I woke up. Like, there was a thick fog in my head, and my vision was blurred just a little bit, so I couldn't see properly. The more I tried to think about it, the more my head ached, and the more blurry my vision became. Questions I hadn't even considered asking yet started to come to mind. Why were my thoughts so jumbled? Why couldn't I think straight? Why wasn't there any windows? What was Orion doing living in a cursed mountain? Did he know he was sparkling? Did he also notice the weird visions of blue, or was it just me? What the hell was going on? All of these thoughts made me so tired. Part of me wished I could go back to sleep and not deal with any of the stuff rushing through my head right then. To go back to that darkness and rest my head, if only for a moment. Just a small, "Hey, Lion, you hungry or not?" I was ripped out of my inner thoughts at the sound of Orion's voice, and with it, the blue spots disappeared. I looked around to notice I was slumped against the pillows once again, with Orion calling out for me from wherever he was. How long had he been doing that for? Do you, need any help over there? No, I got it. Just give me a minute. I didn't want him to think I needed help with something as simple as getting off the couch. I know this entire situation was weird, but I had my pride and respect to think about. And besides, Whatever he was cooking smelled amazing, and having a home-cooked meal sounded really good right now. I gently rubbed at my eyes as they started to feel a bit itchy in the back. I don't know how that was possible, but it was the worst kind of itch. Maybe something got in my eye during the fall. Whatever it was, I just washed it out when I got home. I put the blankets aside and walked over to the archway Orion had went through. I then realized it wasn't an archway, but more of a tunnel leading to what smelled like the kitchen. It was incredibly dark. I could barely see. Orion should get some torches in here. I leaned on the walls at first, feeling the rocky texture graze my fingertips, but quickly realized I didn't need to. Whatever Orion put in that medicine was insanely effective. I finally saw the firelight of the kitchen at the end of the tunnel and quickly rushed over. Wow, snazzy! The kitchen was small but full of stuff. Shelves carved into the walls held bottles of herbs, spices, and dishes. Lanterns hung on the walls and kept the room well lit, with a refrigerator inside an alcove in the wall. And whatever food I was smelling seemed close by. Lion! Glad to see you're here. We can finally eat. Fair warning though. I made a lot of pie. Like, a lot. Yeah, don't worry about it, Orion. I'm so hungry I could eat anything. Oh, that's great. Come on, you can pick which one you want. Pick? Yeah, look. Wow! My eyes widened when Orion led me over to the table. It was completely covered in various tins and plates, all featuring a pie, with only one featuring what looked like a cake. Whoa, you were not joking about that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of pie. I even ran out of all my pie tins and had to use some plates. I tried to make a variety of them since I didn't know what exactly you liked. Let's see, there's veggie pie, moonberry and starberry pie, beef and potato pie, apple and strawberry, and a castella cake thrown in there. Aren't some of these pies desserts? Well, yeah, but you had a really rough night, so yeah, I figured you deserved a treat. Pick whichever pie you want and I'll cut you a slice. Man, oh man, all of these smelled so good. I had never felt so hungry in my life. I could practically feel my stomach drooling at the sight of such delicious food. How could I possibly choose? Yeah, I'll pick the beef and potato. Smells delicious. Alright then, just have a seat while I prepare your plate. Orion left the beef and potato pie on the table while putting the rest of the food back in the oven to keep it warm. I sat down at the table as Orion got plates and a knife to cut our food. I noticed he gave me a pretty big slice, which I was grateful for. After handing me a fork, Orion sat down at the table in front of me. This food honestly looks amazing, Orion. Almost as amazing as you! Aw, thanks. It's not often I get to have people appreciate my cooking. Now eat up. You have to be energized if you want to ask me anything. Be careful, though. Just came out of the oven. With how hungry I was more than excited to dig in. I grabbed my fork and began shoveling food into my mouth, startling the person in front of me. Hey, be careful. You don't want to burn your tongue. He was right. I did burn my tongue, coughing a little as I did so. Yeah, it's hot. Orion snickered at my hastiness. Told you it would be hot. Even though my tongue receptors were a little singed, I was honestly too hungry to care. The food provided my insides a good warming up, and Orion seemed to understand that well. Do you like it? Yeah, this tastes amazing. You did real good with this. Do you like it? Thank you! There's plenty more pie and cake for you to have. Sounds awesome. For shut-in living in the mountains, you're really good at cooking. Orion laughed heartily at my little jab, which I appreciated. Oh, thanks, Lion. That honestly means a lot. Of course, you're a seriously good baker. You should share your recipe with this one restaurant owner I know in town. They probably love it. Orion laughed again, though it seemed a bit forced this time. Well, while my mountain isn't the prime place to find a cookbook, I will say that trial and error has been my teacher. Wherever you got your experience, it produced really good food. Thank you. I gratefully shoveled food into my mouth, content with how full it was making me feel. Orion, happy that I was finally eating, dug into his own slice. This felt rather nice, honestly. Wait, what do you mean by his mountain? So? Orion's exclamation shook me from my thoughts. As I were finally eating, he You can ask me any questions you'd like. And to get one thing out of the way, yes, I will help you get home. I just want you healthy first before that happens. I think we should wait until morning. It's pretty dark out, and I don't want to run into any wild animals on the way. How would he know about the time? There weren't any windows. It was probably late when he found you. Why would he be bothered about something so trivial? What was that? What's up with my brain? If you're really anxious about getting back, I could help you on your way after we finish eating. You really do that when it's so late? Of course I would. Whatever town you're from is probably worried sick about you. Wouldn't want the townsfolk thinking you died up here or something. It's just gonna take a while, and I don't want you straining yourself considering what you've been through, but if you want to go back sooner, I won't stop you. I see. I'm pretty much an open book, and I'm sure you're still confused on what exactly happened tonight. So, lay it on me. What do you want to know? What do I want to know? A lot of things. But, what did I need to know? What are you? What don't I want to know? What are you? What are you? I don't know how to feel about this. A jolt of fear shot through, one so intense, it felt like my heart was being stabbed. I could only look at the creature in horror as it glared at me in rage. What? What in the world? I thought I fixed you. Ask it right this time. What don't I want to know? There has been so many crazy things going on, I just can't pick one specifically. My head felt a little funny, but a part of me felt like I could have been imagining it. Tonight has been pretty weird after all. Yeah, that was probably it. Don't question. Just enjoy your food and talk with me. The medicine, this house, the fall. I have so many questions about everything. You have questions about my house? Is something wrong? Don't mean to be rude. You don't have to tell me if you're not comfortable. No, it's just, why do you want to know about that? Wouldn't it be boring? How could it be? The more I see of this place, the more confused I get. I like to get some kind of answers. Well, who am I to deny your curiosities? Ask away. I thought about what to ask while we eat our food. What was that medicine you gave me? I don't remember learning about any plants that could make you walk again after falling off a cliff. Oh, well, the plants and herbs up here have special properties that have a lot of weird effects. I don't exactly know why the plant life is so weird. I've been trying to figure that out since I got here. But I'm not going to complain with how helpful they've been. Although it took a long time to figure out what plant does what. With hindsight in mind, I should have tested the effects on something else like a rabbit. Why would you just do that outright? You can't just eat plants willy-nilly. Some of them are poisonous. Orion coughed on a piece of his food and looked away from me. Well, that is true, but... Wait, don't tell me. Did you eat random plants without knowing if they could kill you or not? No? Well, yes, but it's fine. I know it was dumb, but I'm not dead or anything. Not dead? Do you realize what could have happened if you did die? You can't just eat random things you find in nature. You'll hurt yourself. And you call me stupid for coming out here to take blog pictures. I know, it was really stupid. But it all meant something. Now I know what isn't poisonous and what is. And even if I do ingest something that's poisonous, I'll be able to make an antidote. The plants here work wonders. I have a garden. I grow the plants in and I usually grind them up into teas or elixirs. But they can also work as spices and creams if I mix them right. As for what I just gave you, it was just something to make the aches and pains in your body go away. Your broken bones were a little bit harder to fix. But I managed it, and you're good as new now. I nodded in agreement, thankful for his help, but I was still curious about something. How did you manage to heal my bones exactly? I know any medicine would snap my bones back into place, and I didn't feel anything like that when you gave it to me. Orion just stuck out his tongue at me and winked. Stop being cute! That's a secret you'll have to figure out yourself. I scoffed in disbelief. Oh, come on! No fair! I want to know! Nope. You're gonna have to guess. I huffed, but slumped back in my chair to eat my food. Whatever he did to fix my body, I was going to figure out what. What is this place? It doesn't look like a normal house. I don't even see any windows. That's because it's not a normal house. I doubt I could call it a house at all. I know the window thing is something I kind of have to deal with. It's not intentional. Well then, what's going on with this place? Well, you might find this kind of crazy, but we're in a cave on top of a mountain. What? That can't be true. Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, but I know. But it's the truth, through and through. I've made this place my home a long time ago, and even though getting this place to look like a home was hard, like really hard, I was able to pull it off. The lack of windows is annoying, but with how cold it can get outside, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, you know? I nodded along. That made sense. Also, couldn't believe you actually managed to turn a cave into a kind of house. How do you make everything work? I can't imagine it's easy, especially all the way out here without any power that I can see. Well, the answer is probably going to bore you, but it's just a bunch of glyphs and runes to get everything running. A pyrospell circle connected to the stove, and an emo rune connected to the fridge. Simple stuff. That was probably the most probable answer. Glyphs and runes were used to power generators and power plants in big cities all the time. Orion using them to power his home wasn't out of the ordinary. I'm even using a hydroglyph to keep my deep freezer cold. You think with how cold it gets up here, I wouldn't need to do that? We both laughed at a small joke. Orion could be pretty funny when he wanted to be. What are you doing all the way out here? I've heard over and over that this place is cursed. Why would you be here? Haven't you heard the rumors? Well, of course I have. I'm not that dense. It's just that my reasons for being up here are complicated. It's just better for me to stay up here. Trust me on that. That didn't really answer my question, if anything. It just made me even more confused. What did he mean by better for everyone? Better for who? I wouldn't pry as I didn't want to invade his privacy, but I was certainly more intrigued than before. Well, if you say so. Despite the interrogation, I still felt off. I didn't know how to properly describe it, but it felt like I wanted to ask more things from Orion. I've been talking of him for what felt like ages, and yet I still knew nothing about him as a person. Having answers about my accident and why he was living up here was nice, but I couldn't get a good read on his personality. I wanted to know more about the person who saved me. Not to mention, I thought he would have some answers as to why I felt so strange, but I couldn't just ask him outright. Why couldn't I? Why would I want to, though? He's been very polite, and he's not bothering anybody. I didn't need to ask him such personal questions. You could just enjoy yourself, and what was going on with me? Of course it matters. Why wouldn't it? I fell off a mountain, and I'm in a stranger's home. Don't I deserve answers that explain more? Enough! The hell? Lion, you okay? Huh? Are you alright? You just seem a little worried about something. I instantly dropped my fork and gasped. My eyes widened in fear and confusion. The creature. It was real. How could it possibly be real? The hell was I looking at? I thought I was hallucinating this whole time. Was I really not imagining things that happened? Did this have to do with my dream? Lion, what's wrong? Orion's tone and words were confused, as if he couldn't tell what was going on, but how could he not? He was covered in the very stars that I could see in my dream. The stars that felt so wrong. How could he not see it? I could feel my thoughts try and ignore what was in front of me. At this very moment, I was obviously imagining things and I was being dramatic. I needed to stop being so hysterical. But I wasn't. It was right there in front of me. How could I not be scared? The stars and constellations that plagued my dreams, the weird sparkles that I thought I was making up, they were right there. The very stars that tried to drag me into the dark abyss I was floating in my dream was right there in front of me, and I couldn't do anything. What do I do? What was I supposed to do? What could I do? I needed to do something. I needed to do something! Before whatever was... Lion? Lion, I know I'm the one who said that I was an open book, but you looked really disturbed. I could barely think over the static. Orion's words went in one ear and out the other. I could only think about the black void that was trying to consume me. Would I be dragged into that darkness? Lion? Orion had concern written all over. Don't! I slapped his hand away and almost fell out of my chair as I scrambled back. The plate of half-finished pie crashed onto the floor, and my fork clattered against the floorboards. I panted heavily as Orion stared at me in shock, before slowly getting up from his seat with a worried look on his face. Lion, what's going on? What's the matter? I wanted to scream at him, that I should be the one asking the question, that I had been feeling weird all day and I needed answers, but I couldn't. My mouth wouldn't form the words. All I could do was scream in my head in frustration. What was wrong with me? Lion. Don't! Don't what? Just don't. Just leave me be for a second. Before I could get a word out, I stumbled out of the kitchen, clutching my head in pain. I don't even know if I could describe it as pain exactly. I just felt so damn weird. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and I could barely think what I wanted to think, and I had no idea why. I didn't want to assume the worst out of Orion, but something was making my brain spin and my words stuck in my throat. And it wasn't me. Why would he hide whatever was causing this? Did he not know about it? I needed answers, and I needed to get off this mountain. I didn't know which one I wanted more. I grumbled as I walked back into the living room, rubbing at my eyes to try to make this weird feeling go away, which didn't work. Gods, what was going on with me? What could I do? Something was wrong. Something was wrong. But what was it? I stared down at the floor, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, my brain feeling fuzzier and fuzzier the more I tried to think about it. Gods, what was I missing? I didn't know how long I was standing there, but I eventually heard Orion's footsteps from behind me as he came back from the kitchen. Lion, I'm so sorry. It's just that, well, just don't, Orion. Okay? I seriously did not want to talk with him right now. Couldn't be bothered. I had to figure out what was wrong with me, and he wasn't going to help out with that. He awkwardly stood right next to me as I rubbed at my itchy eyes. I could feel that he wanted to say something, but he didn't know what. Which was for the best, honestly. I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't snap at him. I just stared at the shadow. Wait a second. His shadow. It was there. But then, my shadow was gone. What? My shadow. It's gone. What do you... Orion seemed to finally notice the flaw. Oh no. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't. It had to be my exhausted mind playing tricks on me. I had to be hallucinating. But no. Orion's shadow was still there, the firelight casting his shadow just fine. And worse yet, it was glowing, just like I thought he was. I glared back at Orion, who could only look at me in silent horror. Where is my shadow, Orion? I'm so sorry, Lion. I forgot to give it back. What does that mean? What is going on? No! I've had enough. I've been feeling weird and saying weird shit since I woke up, and I can't even ask myself why. Something is wrong with me, and I have no idea what it could be. My head was practically screaming at me to keep my questions inside, but I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to ask. I needed to ask. Why is my shadow gone, Orion? Why are you sparkling? Why do I keep seeing weird blue spots? Why is my own head fighting me? Why can't I think what I want? Tell me what's going on! Now! Moon above, please don't let this go wrong. Okay, Lion, just please don't freak out. that supposed to mean? Orion snapped his fingers, and instantly, the haze in my head disappeared. Although I could still see some spots of blue, I gasped from the shock and rubbed at my eyes as the itchiness flared up once again. I looked down at the floor, and I could see my shadow again, as if it was always there. Your shadow was a part of you, a piece of your soul. Having it taken away, even for a moment, was migraine-inducing. Everything suddenly clicked into place. I only knew of one creature that could take another shadow like that. One thing that could manipulate reality to the extent that I had felt this entire time. The same one the townsfolk had always warned me plagued this mountain. The one I didn't believe I would be unlucky enough to run into because of my own stupidity. The same one beside me, right now. You. I looked back at Orion, but what I saw made me stop. His body. It was changing, warping, morphing into the creature. I could only watch in shock as his body finally stopped distorting and his true form was revealed. I mean, he's so cute. His skin turned a bright blue, covered in star-like freckles with a tail to match, ending in a crescent moon tip. His black hair turned as white as moonlight. His ears grew fluffy and horns protruded from his head, even in the dark light, and with his hair in his face. His eyes glowed enough for me to see his bright blue eyes, clear as day. This is who I am, Lion. My true form. I could only stutter out my next words. You're the mountain demon, aren't you? You're a Nixling. His silence told me everything. Nixlings, the mystical creatures of the night that were said to possess untold powers of darkness. Described as monsters that dwelled in the shadows they controlled, feeding on the fears of the innocent and shapeshifting into anything necessary to torment their victims. I never believed my neighbors when they said one lived in this mountain. Almost all of them lived in their own country, where they could harm nobody but each other. Almost all of them. But now, the proof was right there, in front of me. A demon of darkness that held my shadow, and now I was in its home. Well, I'm not just any Nixling. I guess you wouldn't have any idea. I'm not exactly normal, even for my people. I'm something my people call a moondrop, a drop of the moon. Fell into the shadows I was born from, hence the name and unusual appearance. I put your body and soul into the abyss when I found you, and while you were sleeping, I used my shadow magic to heal your broken bones. Damn it, you probably don't even know what the abyss is. It's this weird alternate dimension that I could put people in a dream. I don't exactly have full control over it. Crap, that made no sense. I didn't just use my magic for that. I used it for a lot of different ways, so you wouldn't ask me about what I was, since I didn't know how you'd respond to me. I didn't want to take any risks with you, but I think I overdid it. By a lot, and I didn't even know. I am so sorry, Lion. I didn't mean for things to get this out of hand. Huh. Cool. Honestly, with the context, that explains a lot of things tonight. What? You're not scared of me? I scratched at my neck and shrugged my shoulders. Not really, Orion. Kinda surprised I didn't connect the dots before. Your outfit is covered in stars and moons, and you keep on swearing to the moon itself. Your eyes look like stars, for God's sake. Honestly, I'm just upset you didn't tell me sooner. Well, of course I didn't tell you! Why in the world would I tell you? I'm a demon that's been plaguing this mountain for over 50 years. Cursing this place to be full of death and despair and making people go missing because I eat them. I am a beast, a monster, and every other fun name under the sun. I wasn't going to risk being attacked by someone trying to slay me for the 15th time or have you freak out and injure yourself even more than when I found you. That would just ruin both our nights, and I figured you'd immediately turn on me if you knew what I was. No, I'd just be bricked up, which I am right now. Everyone does. I'm not. Orion scoffed at my words. Please, nobody likes my people. Even after the celestial genesis happened, nobody liked us. We're just evil monsters who steal your firstborn and eat your soul, apparently. The sarcasm in his voice wasn't lost on me. I doubt you still like me after everything I did. I still do, actually. Huh? He genuinely sounded shocked. He truly didn't believe me to say those words in that order. Which was honestly really sad. I don't hate you, Orion. Sure, you kinda mess with my head with your moon magic, but I'm a complete stranger to you. If I had the power to keep a person safe by putting them in a different dimension, yeah, I'd do it too. I'm still a bit weirded out by that, don't get me wrong, but I get it. Like I said before, yeah, I'm just disappointed you didn't tell me. I don't really care about what you are. You don't? Yeah. Why would I care if you're a moon shadow creature thing? Why do I feel like this is an allegory for something? Honestly, I just have even more questions for you. I want to know more about you and your people. But I quickly cut him off by raising my hand. Instantly, he closed his mouth. Yeah, you're the mountain demon, causing weird things to happen on this mountain for generations, sure. But tell me something. Why should I care? What? Why should I care? You've been nothing but kind to me, Orion. I'd be such a jackass if I judged you for something you couldn't control. Orion fiddled in his place anxiously, clearly not expecting such a reaction. Well, yeah, but... Orion, just stop for a second! Listen to me for a moment. I really couldn't care less if you were a Nixling or not. Orion's face immediately became skeptical, but I wasn't having it. But... Nope, I'm talking now, and you're going to listen. Orion did nothing but nod silently, slightly shocked at my initiative. I'm not going to judge you for being a Nixling when I know people that vomit lava and make thunderstorms when they get mad. And I'm not going to have the gall to be rude to you when the grocery store owner I buy food at on a weekly basis has a beard of rocks and walks around shirtless just to show off the gemstones growing out of his pecs. Hot. Life is too short to care about stupid stuff like that. Trust me on it. Wanna know why I'm really upset? Why? I'm upset because you not only lied to me, threw me into a realm of darkness that could have killed me, and your stupid magic won't get off of me. Huh? I've been seeing weird things and feeling weird all night. It's not exactly pleasant. That was the understatement of the century. My head still felt odd, and my eyes felt like there was something itching at the back of them, and I couldn't get it out. Clearly, getting my shadow back didn't do all the work, but I didn't want to freak him out even more considering he was so anxious before. Crud, I forgot. The way I healed you might have had, unintended side effects. Side effects? What side effects? I don't know exactly, which is why I didn't want to send you back without making sure you were thoroughly cleansed, just for your own safety. If your body is cleansed of the magic, then we'll both be fine. I did want to get whatever moon magic's still inside of me out of me, but I still had dozens of questions to ask him about what the cleaning entails, about him, and why he was on this mountain. Waves of queries flooded my mind. Waves of fatigue were starting to hit me. Getting my shadow back must have increased my tiredness because I got the overwhelming urge to sleep. I let out a loud yawn before rubbing at my eyes again. Sorry, completely forgot. Must be exhausted, considering everything that's happened. I was planning on sending you home today if there weren't any complications with the magic in your body, but I don't know if I should right now. What do I do? I don't mind staying tonight. The words were out of my mouth before I could think about it. What? You don't? Nope. I didn't, really. If I didn't get any rest soon, I was going to be more messed up than if I didn't. The only one who would notice me missing for a day would be my landlord and Ronnie. It's not like anyone in town takes those two seriously. I'm way too tired to be doing any walking or magical forms of transportation right now. It's better if I just stay here for the night and get going tomorrow. Besides, gotta make sure all the moon magic is removed from my body, right? Right, of course I do. I swear by the moon, I'll do everything in my power to cleanse your body. I want you happy and healthy before you get home. I beamed at him gratefully, and he returned the favor. Thank you, Orion. Of course. Since you're going to be staying tonight, you can take my bed. Oh no, I couldn't possibly do that. This is your home. Therefore, I make the rules, and I say you take my bedroom tonight. Don't worry, don't mind sleeping on the couch. I want you to be comfortable here. I couldn't help but grin at his kind words. For a so-called demon, he's incredibly sweet. Thank you so much, Orion. Of course. Now follow me. Don't want you getting lost out here. I followed Orion down the tunnels, passing through the kitchen and other pathways before he brought me to his bedroom, the door wide open. Cozy. Love the coats. The room was quaint, a candle lighting up the space and a bookshelf next to the dresser. There was another tunnel leading somewhere, but it was so dark I couldn't see it. Oh yeah, this is my room. Sorry if it isn't fully cleaned up. I didn't actually expect you to stay the night. I looked around the barren room once more before looking back at the anxious creature. You're fine, Orion. Trust me. If you say so. I'll be sure to meet you in the morning so you don't get lost in my tunnels. Have a good night. It was really nice talking to you. Orion stepped out of the room and closed the door behind him. I looked back at the bed and breathed deeply. The bed had never looked so appealing before. I flopped onto the bed and sighed deeply. It felt as though a huge weight has lifted off my shoulders. Now that I know what Orion was, I could think more properly. A Moondrop Nixling, huh? I knew what Nixlings were, but Moondrops? Never heard of them before. I should see if the town library has any information about them. Orion had said he was considered strange even among other Nixlings, so he might not know everything about what he is. Wouldn't hurt to try. And he seemed so confused about me and not instantly hating him. Couldn't help but feel bad. Honestly, the main reason I was upset was because he had messed with my head. I know he gave me his reasons, but I would prefer it if my night wasn't ruined by getting blasted with who knows how much moon magic. But now that I knew who he was and what he was, I just felt bad. I didn't want to make him unrecognizable in his own home. And with how anxious he was acting after his disguise wore off, it felt like he just needed a friend. And there was nothing wrong with trying to be his friend, right? Sure, my neighbors might give me some odd looks, and it'll be difficult considering where he lives, but he felt so alone. I couldn't just not ask him about this place. I wanted to know more, and I wanted to get to know him more. Neighbors be damned! The more I thought about it, the more confident I felt. I didn't want the moon creature to be by himself alone in the mountains. I wanted him to have at least one friend. Everyone deserves at least that. And hopefully, maybe that friend could be me. No one's gonna show up, right? Okay, good. I yawned loudly. God, I was tired. I needed to rest if I was ever going to attempt making progress. Hopefully tomorrow will bring good results in all my endeavors. Hopefully, Orion would let me in just a little bit more. And that's the end of the demo. Anyway, that was day 1 of Moondrop and Sundew. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. And I gotta say, this was a fairly good rewrite. I do like the lore in this one over like Shadow Drop, and I feel like it's been cleaned up a bit more. We had been given like quite a bit of context before like we encountered anything. Like there's so much foreshadowing, and I am enjoying it. I can't wait to see what episode 2 is gonna be like for this. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of the day, and as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.